Welcome to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore with our host, Teddi Krochman, sailor.
Just got off the ship, and my co-host, Melissa Peer, and boho chic icon.
That's me.
So what are we going to talk about today, Melissa?
I have big news.
What?
I just finished my thesis project for my MBA. I am now an MBA at 48.
At 40, talk about a late starter.
Way late.
A late bloomer, but yay, she bloomed. She bloomed.
I did it. Finally, I'm an adult, guys. Now I can get a job.
Okay, so tell me about it. Tell me what your thesis was about and why.
Oh,
Let's pretend like I'm the board that interviews you. Oh, no, that's for the PhD. Okay.
That's for PhD.
Yeah,
No
okay.
board here.
No board. Okay.
So I talked about leadership and specifically about leadership in the fashion industry.
Yes.
Before I got my MBA, I worked in fashion for a year, and the experience with the leadership was so bad, I didn't even put it on my resume.
It was traumatizing.
It was traumatizing because there was no strategy. It wasn't.
Let's let our viewers know, what was your position? What was the name of your position?
So when I was hired, I hired for a marketing manager role.
Okay.
And then told in my interview, well, actually, these roles don't matter. You have a lot of experience, because at that time I had run and sold 2 startups, right?
Yeah.
I had been a startup COO, what is that?
Right.
With like a $2 or $3 million company,
Right.
that's a COO.
Right.
But
it's a COO.
Yeah, sure.
Position of responsibility.
Sure. So then we went with marketing director, but when the woman ordered my, now you know I worked for a woman. When she ordered my cards, they were still marketing manager. And my entire job was siloed. And I had to write down every single task I did to the minute every single day.
Oh my!
It was
God.
insane.
That sounds like something Elon Trump would make. Elon Trump. Trump.
That's it.
Talk about a Freudian slip.
Yes.
Elon Musk would do to federal workers.
So my thesis was about how bad leadership can just sink any strategy.
Well, tell me about that bad leadership. What would you say bad leadership consists of?
Bad leadership is not involving your team in the decisions, or at least giving your team like a strategic guidance that is like consistent with your goals.
So autocratic.
Right. So if I want a $5 million return, then I need to set my key performance indicators, those KPIs. I need to set them all the way down the line, so that I'm looking at getting $5 million in return. But my marketing staff is looking at it like, oh, that means we need, 200,000 new customers in a year, or and breaking that down into months, et cetera.
Right.
And then your stylist, et cetera, know what they have to do to get that. And that it wasn't present there. And I was just so amazed.
So you had no access to the budget as a marketing?
I had access no, I didn't have access to the budget. I was like, did I have access to the budget? No. No.
So you didn't have a budget as a marketing director or marketing manager?
I didn't have a budget. We had money that we had spent that we were allowed to stay within, but we're not allowed to play with it in a big way.
Okay.
And anything that was being played with was very secret to the boss, which it's just kind of wild. It wasn't great. We had an incident that it just solidified for me. Oh, shoot, I can't work here anymore, where everyone was around the boss's desk. And she's like, I don't like boss is gone jokes. I absolutely hate them. They hurt my feelings. When the boss is gone and you go, boss is gone. Like,
when the cat's away, mice will definitely play.
And of course, everyone laughs and then they get back to work, because that's just what you say at work. But we were called to court. And then after she said that, we're like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Then she went ahead and berated every single person in the room.
Well,
let's
back up for a minute. How did she even find out that you guys said that?
We had one leaky boat.
Oh, there's always the kiss ass.
Right.
The kiss ass. Boss, you know what everybody was saying? Don't you hate those kind of people?
You know what? I
I
didn't.
really do.
Those kind of people, yes, but I really didn't hate her. That was her survival
Oh,
strategy.
please.
But
Melissa, you're such a
but
caretaker. Honest to God.
oh,
I need to
good
do a whole
heavens.
therapy session with Melissa
She really
online.
does.
Honest to
Yeah.
God. She's a
yeah.
rescuer. You're a rescuer, Melissa. You're always
Which is,
rescuer.
I mean, probably why I joined this team. I was like, oh, I see everything that's wrong there. Let me help them fix it. But I couldn't fix it, and I definitely
Yeah.
couldn't be on the leadership team there because that's just not how I lead. I was like, wow, this is not collaborative.
So
and
she
not
didn't
nice.
have you on the leadership team?
After all that, no, I was still siloed in my little tiny
Oh,
container. And if
wow.
I went outside,
That has to be very difficult because my previous experience, of course, wasn't marketing in fashion. It was marketing in hospital care. And I was always part of the leadership team. I actually managed the budget for the entire department.
Oh, and you knew what the
And
budget was?
yes, not only did I know what the budget was,
Did
but
you set
I would call, yeah, basically I did. Of course, my boss did that because I was smarter than she was, and she knew how to use good people, you know. But I always had access to the budget. I also had access. Now I worked for a huge corporate hospital corporation.
Yeah, it's a little
So
different.
I had like the flagship marketing department that I could work with too. So I siphoned off some of their budget as well too when I made pamphlets and brochures and things like that. But I can't imagine that a marketing person, one of the things that you need to do to make sure that you're marketing the product so it reaches everyone is to know what everybody does and be able to talk about, not only, let's say, the styles that your boss produces, but how they're produced, if they're produced in a quality way, if they're produced in a sustainable way. Do other people that are doing the designs, what are their aesthetics? I mean, that just helps you when you're talking about the product to other people to have that kind of information to just pull out.
Right. And
so to not know what's going on with the rest of the company.
And I know the margins are really tight in fashion.
They are in most industries.
And so coming into fashion, I kind of knew that. I had worked in fashion marketing before at Everpurse and really understood these things working with Kate Spade and with Tumi. Like we got it. And they're both bag companies, so a little different than garments. But just watching this company struggle after being in business for over a decade, I was just like, oh, what's happening here? So it was fascinating. And it broke my heart to like have to make that decision to leave. I cleaned out my desk the same day. I gave my notice.
Having this experience for a year with a fashion company who shall remain nameless.
Not even on my resume.
But has that kind of turned you off from working in the fashion world? Or
is that this podcast is such a respite for me, right? It's so lovely to be able to talk about because I'm fascinated. I'm really fascinated. And then I've worked with a lot of smaller companies to help them understand their market fit and like understand like where they're going, like how do I position myself? And that's fine. I can do that consulting all day. But I am sad about not working in fashion because I do find it fascinating. Right? You're either following a trend, you're setting a trend, you're kind of in the middle of that and seeing what people are responding to.
And it's a very creative world.
It is. It is.
It's a shame because if I was younger, if I were or was, I don't know what's grammatically correct. If I was younger, when I think about it, I always kind of wanted to be in the fashion industry, but I went into something where I could make money, right away, kind of a thing. Because my husband and I were in our mid-30s at that point. We needed the cash. So it was more like, all right, let's make the cash. You can have the dreams later.
Sure. I mean, that's the reason I didn't go to art school in my 40s.
Right. Because we need to make the money.
Right. Although an MBA, I think it's pretty worthless at this point. So I don't know why I got it either, but I did get it. I did write about leadership and fashion.
Degree always. Look at how many people in the fashion world we've interviewed on our podcast who have master's degree, including Donna Asadi, who, like I said, has a master's degree in nuclear physics.
That's so helpful when you're cutting out a pattern. Right.
Well, it taught her, like she said, how to kind of look at things in a builder's kind of a
right. And having that like builder's attitude. And who Who else?
Oh gosh, everybody almost had masters.
Now all their names are going.
Yeah, they're all blurring. I think
Nikki was going for law and political science.
Law. Did Rachel have a master's degree?
Rachel, yes, she's a teacher. And then Ray
had a master's degree
in marketing.
Too. Right, exactly. So there's quite a few people. People think fashion industry, a bunch of dumb skis, feather heads, all they care about is looks. No. But there's some really, really smart people in this business.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed by how interesting everybody is. And usually, and that's because fashion, especially unfortunately in the Chicago market, and that's why we're trying to help the Chicago market.
Because it's great. You guys are great. We love you. Even the company that shall not be named, fabulous company. Actually, like great.
I get crazy about
you know what? Great people.
Oh, that's
like except for like
fabulous people to
management not knowing how to be a leader.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the fashion people that we know, they can't devote their entire time. Very few of them can devote their entire time to a fashion career. Most of them have main jobs, and then they do the fashion kind of stuff part-time.
I mean, but that's all.
There's very few people who can sustain a full employment, especially when they're solos, like stylists or photographers, designers. It's very hard for many of them to sustain that as a full-time business.
Well, any entrepreneur just starting out, and any artist, I think that's absolutely
the arts. Unfortunately, just like acting. I remember when my son, fabulous actor, fabulous comedian. The kid is really funny. We're the kind of parents who are like, whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy, you go for it. And we totally supported his going into show business kind of a thing. He had a rather successful career in his 20s. I'm not going to go into my son's life story. Things kind of broke down. But he had a lot of fabulous opportunities. And he still to this day harkens back to those memories. You can see that's where his heart really is. But now he's in his 40s and he has a partner, and they're basically, we just need to make freaking money.
We just have to make money.
Yeah. And it's a shame because there's so many artistic people out there, but there's just so much space in the lane, so there's so many people. Like if you watch The Voice or any of those talent shows, there are people that are incredibly talented, far more talented than some of the big pop stars that you see making gajillions of dollars. But there's just so much room in each lane. And unfortunately, the majority of these really talented people just fall by the waysides and ultimately become
This is why we all need patrons.
Worker bees.
We need patrons. We need to bring back, art patrons that are just for one artist.
Right. And they support that artist's
work.
It's a shame because there's so many wonderfully artistic people that unfortunately just can't make a living doing what they really passionately love.
And there really is something soul-sucking about having to monetize your passion, your art. I remember my ex-husband is an artist, great artist. He's getting a lot of recognition. But my entrepreneurial brain was like, oh, you need to turn this into fabrics immediately. He's like, I just can't.
Right.
I just can't commoditize this. I just need to make it right now.
Right. He just needs to do it.
He just needs to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's normal.
Yeah. Well, and the same thing with my husband, Ken. He's a fabulous artist. You've seen you haven't seen.
I didn't know that was his art.
You've been to my home 9 million times. You haven't seen Ken's artwork.
No.
Oh my God.
I didn't know.
He was in professional art shows.
Kids.
He won $1,000. This was too funny. I remember the first award my husband won. He designed the map for a shopping mall and won $1,000 for the Barrington shopping mall.
Listen, Ken designing a map doesn't surprise me.
No, but
I always like to
But
guess.
his work was I don't know if you've ever heard of the artist Ben Sham. Ben Sham was a very socialist, workers united kind of artist.
Yes.
And Ken, my husband, when we first started out, was a union representative, and he worked in a big warehouse for Denny's called Proficient Foods. And Ken was like the union representative. So Ken was very into unions and that kind of thing. And then later in my political career, very union focused and that kind of thing. But one of Ken's pictures that made it into a very professional art show, and I'll show it to you later. We should actually
We'll put
photograph it and slap it down
we'll
there.
put it in.
It is of a worker, and you just look at the picture and it just evokes emotion. It's a worker behind a fence, and he's literally grabbing onto the fence like, get me the hell out of here. You know, those jobs, you want to talk about your everyday worker, your union worker, those are back-breaking jobs, back-breaking jobs. And there are people who have to spend their lives doing that kind of work. They don't have the luxury to do what they love. Most people don't have the luxury.
This seems like the perfect time for Ken's art. When is he?
Ken
when is
is
he
a
going back
fabulous art abstract. We have an abstract in our living room. We have I always call it the Ben Shamish one. He has another one with coal miners. Again, another very union worker focused kind of thing.
I mean, Ken needs to make some art for that.
He's done himself twice. He's never painted me. This is interesting. My husband has painted himself twice, not once, but twice.
Oh, but listen, Ken,
not me though. I'm no muse for my husband.
What? Ken takes photos of you every day.
Yeah, well, he has to. He has to.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah,
he does it because he loves you.
No, he does it because he has to.
Listen,
I never hear the end of it.
I liked it when Ken's profession was a mystery to me, and I could just guess it every time.
No, you know what my husband ended up being again because we needed the money. My husband was an insurance agent.
An insurance agent artist.
An insurance agent for 20 years. You want to talk about blood-sucking career. And that was the days when you used to go into people's homes and you'd have to set up an appointment and you'd sit there and talk to them for 1 hour about all their insurance options and all that. I mean, the man was like ready to fall down. And I keep saying to him, you need to keep painting. You need to keep painting. And I think he was just so, like many people, when they just come home from work, everything is just sucked out of them, and they almost, even the weekends, we think of a time for the weekend to be where you relax and you kind of enjoy yourself. It's like, I remember even too, in my career, 30-some year career, the weekends were just to lay down, relax, and try to clear my mind from the crap that I was facing on Monday, So it like almost sucks any creativity out of you.
You know what we call that at home? We call that the song against itself. Like going to work. Oh, what are you going to go do today? Well, I'm going to sing a song against myself.
Yes.
Because I'm totally doing something that is counter to what my soul wants me to do.
Exactly. And think of how many people, the majority of people, do that all the time.
Because they have to.
Because they have to. And that's one of the things I think, Melissa, that I find so freeing. And I don't want to make retirement sound like it's some glorious thing to everyone, because it isn't. There's times when I struggle and I think, I am in the last quarter of my life. I have more life behind me than I have ahead of me. So when you get to retirement, I would say the struggle for many retirees is trying to keep focused. Now you have time to do something you love, because hopefully you're lucky enough, like my husband and I are, where we can live off of our retirement. We don't have to worry about money, and we can go and do things that we enjoy. Hence the podcast, hence the Instagram, hence, But there's still, the thought when I was younger, and you're in that space now, where you think, well, in 10 years, I'll do this, or in this many years, I'll do that. Or, to me, and I've never been a 5-year, 10-year planner, but even less so now, because it's like, in 5 years, I could be dead. I mean, there are people, it's funny, my husband and I joke whenever a celebrity dies, and they say, for example, the other day, Richard Chamberlain died.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Chamberlain passed away. He was 90. Nobody even questions what he died from.
They're just oh, he was 90.
He was 90. Another actor the other day died who was like 76. It was George Foreman, the boxer, was 76 years old. And I said, they didn't even mention what he died of. And Ken said he was 76. And I'm thinking, in other words, at our age, I could drop dead right now and like nobody would be surprised or shocked or anything. It'd just be like, she was 71.
You know, it
You know?
took me forever to understand that George Foreman was famous before the George Foreman Grill.
Oh my God, he was a world famous, and he beat Muhammad Ali.
And I'm like, oh, George Foreman, the guy who had that grill?
Yes.
And
Oh my
Michael is
God.
like Melissa the boxer.
Oh my God, he was a fabulous boxer. He beat Muhammad Ali. I mean, he was fabulous. And he was such a character. He was such a character. But anyway, that being said, Melissa, I think we will end our little episode about our careers,
That's right. Happy
Past-
MBA to me.
past and present.
Mm-hmm. What's next for us?
Melissa,
What?
I'm sorry you have red lipstick on your chin. Today's April Fool's Day. You'll be seeing this after April Fool's, but I had to do an April Fool's on Melissa.
I fell for it.
I usually get Ken, but I missed out today.
There's still a whole day left.
No, I tried, and he said, "Oh, forget it. I know it's April Fool's." I usually get him every year, but I didn't get him this year. So anyway, that's the life of Teddi and Melissa and our career paths.
That's
Hopefully, my Melissa will find a wonderful career
I'll make
moving
one.
forward with her
Likely.
MBA, or we'll make money off this podcast if you people watch it once in a while. Watch the goddamn podcast.
If they got to this point, you should be lecturing them.
Right. If you've gotten to this, you don't need to watch the goddamn podcast.
You
I
already
should have put
watched
that.
it.
I should have put that at the beginning of the episode.
That should be the name of the podcast.
Watch the goddamn podcast. Oh,
What?
in our next episode, we're going to talk about Melissa has taken a website called
Oh, no, don't.
What Are We Gonna Wear? No, you don't want me to say it?
No, I bought it all and I need to make it.
Okay,
private.
she wants to launch it. It's a very interesting concept, though. So
It's
Melissa has a new website coming out. We'll tell you about it at some point. She doesn't want me to give it away. I'm terrible
Alright.
at secrets. What can I tell you? I'm terrible at secrets.
Oh, you're going to tell anyone who I used to work for any minute now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
No.
not. I am not
No.
that bad. I am not that bad. So, Melissa,
That's okay. I hear they got better.
let me ask you something.
Yeah, tell me.
Why don't we dress for dinner anymore?
I have no idea, Teddy. Why don't we talk about it sometime?
I don't